Hey everybody, it's Brian from the Brian Riley team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm excited to be here live with Mike Leonardi from Candidly Yours Photography. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Now, we were talking a little bit off camera here, obviously.
Yeah.
Mike is one of the top photographers in Pittsburgh when it comes to real estate photography. He's done most of my listings that I've done to date. He works with a lot of other agents. Mike, how many shoots did you say you did last year?
896 in just real estate.
896 listings.
Yeah, I was bummed out. I missed it by 4. 900. I like an even number.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't come up with 4 more listings at the end of the year for you. I think we were 4 away on our goal too, so that would have.
Well, and I would say this year's let's make it happen, but we spent the last 38 days on the couch.
We'll see what we can do to bounce back.
Yeah, 12-hour days from here on out.
Pretty much, yeah.
As soon as we can leave. As soon as we can leave.
Yeah, we'll go from 0 hours to 12 hours.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like we were saying, before starting the recording here, obviously now with the quarantine is a great time to just kind of get together where you and I can actually talk and put out some content and useful material for, the consumers, the clients, the general public, stuff that they can use to help them be better prepared for, buying and selling real estate. So I'm excited that we finally have an opportunity to, where we're not both working, that we can do something like this.
Yeah. And last time we sat down was the very beginning of the year, huh? We had that coffee.
We had coffee, and I don't think we've gotten back to that conversation since, because we were busy up until mid-March.
And I think we're both probably the same, where we're best when we are busy.
True. Very true.
If I sit still, nothing gets accomplished. So it's been a lot of dad duty stuff on my end, and that's about it.
I got you, man. And same here. Well, I'm sure you're doing homeschool and everything else.
Well, no, I left out. The kids are still young enough where they're not in school. So unless you count Daniel Tiger as schooling.
Okay. No, I didn't realize they were that young. I thought they were preschool, kindergarten.
Well, Luca would have been in kindergarten this coming September, or preschool. So we have him signed up to do 3 full days preschool, because he's 4. He'll be 5 in December.
Okay.
Natalie, she's 2, so she just runs around and it's cute.
That's my 2 youngest ones too.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's get into it, man. I have a couple questions for you. Like I said, simple questions. I know you'll have the answers for. I just want to let the clients, hear the answers, and again, better prepare themselves going into the process of, hopefully everybody will be buying and selling houses here in the foreseeable future. So the big question, the $100 million question, what's the one thing that you wish that every seller knew 1 to 2 days before they're about to get their house photographed by you?
I think it's common sense, and probably the rest of the photography community would think so as well, but your house is going to be photographed for the internet. So how do you want that to be presented? And you and I both know that some people are okay with it being cluttered, dirty. They don't pay attention to many details. And you and I both get it that people still live in the house, so they have to kind of have that they live there. But at the same point, you don't need 3 winter jackets each and 4 or 5 pair of shoes each, and throw rugs absolutely everywhere, and 4 different coffee pots in the kitchen because somebody wants cappuccino and the other guy's okay with Keurig, and mom's only doing the fresh ground coffee. So it's like, minimize, declutter, basic cleaning, and just imagine that within a day or 2 of me leaving, it's going to be on the internet. So if your neighbors see your house, are they going to be like, wow, look at the Smith's house? Or are they going to be like, oh, I can't believe Susie and Bill live that way? And it's just amazing that so many times we walk into a house and we have to play the part of photographer, realtor, stager, declutterer, cleaning crew. I mean, I've even helped people get things off the front porch because the carpet guys didn't take the carpet. And, you know, there's been agents that are like, grab the other end of that couch and we're going to flip it around. And I'm just like, are we? Like, I will, but I don't know if we should. So just get ready for it to be seen by everybody. You know, I think in the news, they call it camera ready. So be camera ready, you know, hair and makeup. So just clean, declutter, minimize. I think I heard you say on one of your recent posts that, you know, if you don't have pretty towels in the bathroom, then just get rid of them. You know, and it's okay to maybe have a fruit basket on the kitchen island, but we don't need the fruit basket next to 3 different book bags next to, you know, a portable Xbox or whatever, you know, the kids are doing. So put some stuff away and just pretend that you have to kind of show off for me, even though you know, you don't really have to. I'm a pretty basic guy, but at the same point, I am showing up with a camera. So get out of your pajamas, put on your makeup, do your hair, you know, for your house, and
yeah,
figuratively speaking, and everything will be better presented.
yeah, okay. Well, that, and like you said, that all makes sense to us. I know, I mean, I can say firsthand, you know, having 4 kids, my house is a mess most of the time. So
Yeah,
even,
same, and I only have 2.
and you,
That's why I'm in the kitchen.
yeah,
The room's a mess.
the rooms are a mess. So, you know, even clean for us is probably not photo ready. So I think that's where, you know, the clients, particularly sellers, you know, are limited, and it helps to have that fresh perspective of that outside pair of eyes. So what's the one piece of advice then that you would give all the agents out there, maybe who are new, or just, you know, the listing agents who may not know? What's the advice you can give them that would help them, help their clients, help get the house sold?
Sure. Before I went full-time with photography, I had sales jobs for probably 10 or so years. And one of my sales managers used to say during the O.J. Simpson trial, when he walked into Johnny Cochran's office, do you think O.J. told Johnny Cochran how to win the case? Or do you think Johnny Cochran said, sit down, shut up, I'm the best, here's what we're doing? And I think in real estate, some people are probably shy and they don't want to tell, you know, Mr. and Mrs. at the cul-de-sac to put away the kids' toys, put away most of your kitchen appliances and gadgets, you know, hide the Sam's Club size bottle of dish soap, which I didn't, right? But we don't need it, you know. Put away most of the things that you don't pay attention to, but in a photo would be distracting. Take the magnets off the fridge. Take the kids' artwork off of the, you know, off of the wall, like I have here, some scribble. You know, put the keys away. Just put stuff away. Minimalization is best. Less is best. Less is more. Whatever the expressions are. But as a realtor, you know, you guys have the license. You passed the test. You went through the homework. So don't be afraid to tell the clients, listen, here's what I do. And if you listen, we will win and there will be results. So if I tell you to vacuum like a hotel and put those lines in the carpet, then do it. And if Mike shows up at 1:30 with the camera, I don't care if you vacuum at 12:49, but make sure that your house is ready to be shown to the world. In essence, you know, the internet can be seen. I've had people tell me that they've sold their houses, you know, to people across the country, sight unseen, 25 multi-list photos, and they were good with it, you know? So it's like, make the presentation count. Don't be afraid to tell them, do this and it will work. A lot of people I work with, you know, in those almost 900 photo shoots last year, I've probably worked with, I don't know, let's just say 180 agents. And I would say maybe 50 of them are timid, you know, and you have to do it with a level of professionalism, but also be curt, you know, just tell people, hey, we're going to walk around a couple days before, and just almost like a construction crew would put that blue tape where they need to do touch-ups or they need to fix a hinge.
Yeah,
punch list, right? So don't be afraid to say, do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And if it's just flat out messy, then you have to say, look, you guys are, I know, I get it. It's tough, life, work, schedule, kids, whatever, but do the dishes, put stuff away, take out the garbage, hide the garbage cans, for instance, you know, move the cars out of the driveway. This is what I do. This is what my guys do, whether it's video, photography. I don't care if you know, you guys have, I know you have painting and other like handymen and stuff too. So we come to the table with this full repertoire of like, I know a guy mentality. So they don't, you know, they don't sell houses often. Just like when I photograph a wedding, I say, I've done, you know, 13 years worth of weddings. This is your first marriage. So if I tell you that this looks better, it looks better. So just be confident enough to tell these people. You might, you know, get mad at me now, but when your house sells in 48 hours over asking with no closing cost assist, then you'll be like, wow, I'm glad we hired Brian. I'm glad we hired Bob, Sue, whatever. So just stand up for what you did and what you do and what you continue to do.
Yeah. And I think, you know, part of that, even for new agents who maybe haven't sold a lot of houses yet, is being on the multi-list and looking at pictures of what's actually selling and then going into, you know, houses and getting that experience. And we're obviously talking very, you know, to the point here. I mean, I've seen you in action, and I know that you're, you know, very patient and you are willing to do that stuff and move the furniture and, you know, help. You do what you got to do to get the job done, but you know,
It's my name on the line too. You know, if we put out crappy results and then you bring a let's say one of your coworkers or someone even from a different broker brings a seller, they'll be like, oh, it looks just like the photos. You know, who did the photos? Why didn't they pay attention to, you know, the whole package of paper towels when you only need one? You know, so I have no problem making those recommendations on location. But for the sake of, you know, expediting in time, especially now that we've all sat still for, you know, whatever, 40 days, 30 days, 2 weeks, however many laws you've abided by. But I've been pretty good and kind of sat still for a while. So it's going to get pretty hectic, I think. So the more we can all be prepared. You know, I talked with another agent last week. It's like, if you know I'm coming at 2 o'clock, have all the lights on. Have the toilet seats down, have the blinds open, or, you know, have the ceiling fans turned off. And if we have to move things from one room to the next, if we have to take the high chair and the pack and play and go from the kitchen to the dining room, so be it. I get it. Again, I have 2 kids under 5, but I don't have to, I shouldn't have to come in there and make your bed, you know, and I've seen, so it's like, fluff the pillows, make the bed, run the vacuum, hide your trash.
Yeah, well, you bring up a couple really good points too. Is like, because like I said, we're being very to the point. I mean, you've helped me move furniture. I mean, we've shown up to a house where I thought it was going to be ready, and then I go, it's not ready, Mike. Or you've beat me to the house, and I pull up and I walk up and I see your face, and I'm like, oh, my seller's still in there. They told me they were ready yesterday. They're not ready. You know, I only left them 3 things to do. They must not have done them. Look, but what it comes down to is, you know, we're going into a slightly different time where a couple of things. One, if you're going into the market as a seller competitively and you're looking at the other listings out there as your competition, there's somebody out there who has just spent the last 6 weeks getting their house ready, changing all the light bulbs.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the case may be, somebody is that much more ready. So in terms of competition, you've got to work that much harder now to put your house at the top, you know, the front of the pack.
It's almost like today's day and age with real estate and with houses, it's comparable to online dating, right? In the sense that if you're on a dating site and you have really good profile photos and then you have a really nice bio, you know, maybe people keep talking about it. They keep looking, you guys start a conversation. But if you have a really nice bio, you know, and then we can bring it back to real estate. Let's say you talk like an English professor about the beautiful woodwork, the coffered ceilings and the 10-inch baseboard and the knoll posts that you can hug and everything else. But the words describe it perfectly. And if there's no imagery, people kind of go, wait a minute, same thing, you know, on a dating site. If there's no photos, people might think, what's this person hiding? Same thing goes back to, even if you do have photos, why would you want them to be dark, blurry, sideways, right? I'm looking at your house right now, and everything behind you is parallel or up and down, perfectly fine. Everything's level, straight, you know, and you know that you and I pay attention to those types of things. I've seen some listing photos and the walls are going like this, you know, because they're using the super wide angle lens, or they're just standing at the wrong,
Right.
you know,
Right.
whoever took the photos maybe at the wrong height. You know, so if you're at a certain millimeter lens and you stand at eye level, maybe you get, you know, a ton more ceiling and not enough floor. So you've seen me on shoots where, you know, I'm crouching down and you might think, what's he doing? Okay, well, if I crouch down, I'm getting an even distribution of ceiling and floor. And then I make sure everything else is level. And I try to get three walls in each photo so that it's not distorted, it's not fake, it's not a lie, but at the same point, it does tell a story. So you have to pay attention to I think, all those things. But with what we're going into, I think it is going to kind of change a little bit, where maybe I'm not going to be as willing to like throw away the dirty towels, you know, off the bathroom floor, which I've kicked around before, or, you know,
Right.
pillows and make beds because, you know, whoever lived in wherever didn't do it that morning. So it's like, we have to.
And the sellers also. I mean, not every seller is going to want you touching every item in their house. Or
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. A minute ago, you brought up light bulbs. I have a checklist, and if I haven't shown it to you, I will send it to you so you can kind of send it out and you can brand it yourself and whatever, and that's fine. But even in my room right now, we have 3 of those Edison bulbs above the kitchen island, right? They give that like orange hue. So I turned it off, you could tell. The rest of the room has LED lights in it. So in essence, I don't follow my own advice, but I think that it's very important to have the same color temperature throughout the house. So if you have a table lamp that has an LED daylight bulb in it, but then your ceiling fan has an old 60-watt regular, just, you know, tungsten light bulb, those two hues are going to give different hues, different color of the room. So, you know, you can tell a client, listen, run to Sam's Club, run to Costco, buy 2 whatever 16-pack LED daylight bulbs and change all your light bulbs, because that'll change the overall lighting of the house. And it's a basic, simple thing that probably for less than, I'll make up a number, 40, 50 bucks, and maybe an hour's worth of carrying around the step stool, you know, you can get a nice consistent feel, and people might not notice it, but maybe in their subconscious, they notice it, that everything is lit. And it's bright, it creates a brighter feel. And any interior designer will tell you, you know, bright and light and airy is a welcoming and comfortable. It's easy to be in. That's why if you go to like, let's say you go to an all-inclusive resort, right? The lobby's all open air, right? The beach air's coming right through it. So, you know, creating that little bit of consistency too, that helps, especially if you're in a dark house. You know, you're in maybe like an older house that still got some wood paneling or something, and then all of a sudden you got Merlot colored curtains up too, and it's like, oh my goodness, we got dark curtains and dark walls and shag carpet. Like, all right, at least if we had bright light bulbs and we opened the curtains and the vacuum was run on the carpet, we can at least put a little lipstick on it. You know, we can make it look a little bit better. So I'll email you that checklist, and you can kind of just play food for thought with it, whatever, and maybe it's something you email to clients. Just so they can see it. But a lot of things people don't think about. You know, some people think, put the toilet seat up. Like, I don't want to see the toilet water. We all know what's in there. Same as hand soap. We all have Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever, with the Bath and Body Works, you know, the hand soap. Like, just put it away. We don't need to see a bunch of different stuff.
You bring up a lot of really good points. That's one of my rules of thumb is, you know, lighting is your best friend. The more light, the better in almost every circumstance, every situation.
What's the definition of photography? You know, photography by definition is just capturing light.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
you need light. And even if it's dark, even if you're doing like a long exposure of the city or some astrology, you know, it's still light, but you just change the camera setting. You let the shutter stay open
lets more or less light in, right?
Yeah, exactly. It lets more light in. So you might leave the shutter open for a minute on one of the bridges to capture, you know, the red taillights driving down one of the boulevards or something like some of the guys do here. So yeah, I mean, light is photography. So you need light, and a consistent light just plays with the Kelvin scale and gets consistent color temperature in the room.
Wow. Well, clearly, you know, a lot about photography, obviously.
Yeah, I've been faking it for a while, but now I know a couple of things.
You know a few things. That's good, man. Man, so many good points, good questions that could come out of that. Tell me this though, is different about real estate photography? Because I know you do weddings, or you have in the past, certainly.
Yeah, no, I still do. I still do.
Okay. So what's different about real estate photography from, you know, any other form of photography?
That's a good question, and it is different. I mean, it is a different form, obviously. Doing a wedding is almost like photographing a basketball game. You know, your head's on a swivel. You got to pay attention to everything. There's not as many controlled variables. You know, if my flash doesn't go off on the first kiss, and maybe they're not up there making out, then I missed the first kiss.
Yeah.
If you and I are in a living room or a kitchen, and I take some shots, and I'm like, well, let me move a little bit this way and go. We can do that. So there's a lot more control with real estate, and there's a lot more variables that I can kind of alter. And quite frankly, from a business standpoint, it's a faster turnaround time, and there's less involvement from everybody. You know, when I do a wedding, let's say a Pittsburgh wedding that I've been doing weddings since 2007. So most weddings are about 200 people. So everybody nowadays has a camera with their phone or whatever. Maybe some people still have a real camera they bring. Every bridesmaid or best friend or mom or whatever has an opinion. They've been married or they were in a wedding last weekend and their guy did this instead. And so there's a lot of voices at you at a wedding, but then there's also not a lot of time. So I started to kind of drift away from that a little bit, just based on some industry changes. There's a lot of people out there that are, and even now with real estate, and there's a lot of good people that are doing things, as well. And just like anything really, I guess, carpenters or whatever you want to call it, there's competition. But sometimes in an industry like photography, where there's no real requirements, you don't have to be a licensed photographer. You don't have to have your doctorate. You don't have to pass the bar.
Right. You just buy a camera.
You just buy a camera and say, hey, I want to start taking some photos. And that's great. I mean, I've had a camera since I was 5. So in essence, real estate's different just because I can kind of take my time, but at the same point, because you've worked with me for years, you go to bed with my photos, you get them and you're done and you list it in the morning. And then I go to the next 8 or 10 or 7 or whatever photo shoots I have on any given Tuesday. And same thing, I come home and I upload and I separate and I edit and I export and I email and I'm done again. So with other assignments that I've done, whether it's, a corporate event or a private party or a fundraiser or a gala, like I was supposed to do a gala for a fundraising organization that I believe in and I partner up with a lot. But because of this, it got canceled. So, and a lot of weddings 4 weddings have already been pushed back. So real estate, I think, is just where I can get to cumulative business and get it back to you guys quickly. But there's still an emotional importance to it in the sense that it needs to be done right, needs to be done correctly. And sometimes I'm in people's houses, they might have lived there for 25, 30 years. I know my parents' house in Highland Park, that's a family house. Like my great-great-grandfather came over, bought that house in Highland Park, and now it's throughout the generations, my mom and dad are there. So I still look at it like I'm photographing where these people, raised their kids or went through family deaths or they had their daughter on the steps for prom and took photos and all the Christmases. So, there's still a lot of like, this means something. And same when I do a wedding, if I get a photo with a bride and her grandfather, that means something, So there's still an importance to it, but it's just something that I can do with more control, probably less stress and a faster turnaround time, really.
You bring up some other good points there too. That goes back to what we talked about with people preparing for the house. I think if a lot of sellers prepared for their home photo shoots the way they prepare the centerpieces and the tablecloths and the chairs and the seating arrangements like they do for their wedding, and went into it with that level of detail and that perspective, I think it would be eye-opening for a lot of people. So you make a lot of really good points there.
And that's why, I kind of go back to the newscaster that has to be camera ready, right? Yeah. Or even if you wanted to joke about like Anchorman or some, funny movie, like you have to be camera ready. So your reception hall has to be party ready. Like you said, centerpieces, chair covers, whatever tchotchke that the people go home with, you know, shot glass or, you know, whatever it is, you know, the cookie table. There's a presentation to it, and presentation and preparation, you know, they go hand in hand. And sometimes the last P would even be perception, you know? So there's a perception that's being portrayed out there by the photograph. There's a lot of P's. I forget what that's called in English class, but so, you know, the perception, preparation, and, you know, kind of fake it till you make it. Like, so if you don't live in the best house in the world, but you present it the right way, maybe that first time home buyer, 26, 7-year-old, whatever, just got married and they're looking for their house, they might think, oh man, this is the best place for us to start. Okay, great. It doesn't have to always be, you know, something that a former athlete lived in. It doesn't have to be $800,000. It just has to be something that you want to go to every day and every night and call home. So do your best to prepare and present it that way. Create the perception of this is a comfy, cozy type house to be in. And, you know, with the expertise of the realtor and me and some of the other photographers out there that take things well and correctly and pay attention to little details, you know, the market should be able to stay as hot as it's been as soon as we, you know, we're able to kind of run out the gate and get back to it.
Yeah. That's another good point, man. It's like you said, it doesn't have to be an $800,000 house. It's the house. You got to make that house, create the perception of that's the house that buyer is going to want to come home to. Yeah. And the best way to do that is make it look like the house that you would want to come home to. Not
yeah.
Like,
and how many times have we heard that, right? How many times have we taken photos and they've taken your advice and then they joke around like, man, this is the cleanest it's ever been. And now I don't want to move, or maybe
now I don't want to move. Yeah.
Maybe we don't want to leave because, you know, we've never scrubbed this hard before, you know, or whatever.
Or as opposed to it looks like the house that they couldn't wait to get out of.
Exactly.
Right.
So if you present it that way where you can't wait to get out of it, why would the next couple or person want to come into it? You know, so
very good. Yeah.
Got to be camera ready. You know, have the right mindset that act as if, right? That's another good line. Act as if your house in Verona, Penn Hills, Westview, Lawrenceville, Bloomfield, whatever. Act as if it is $1 million. Act as if 10 people want to buy it 3 days from now and close by the weekend. They got cash money in an envelope. If you do that and you have the right professionals with you, then everything else is just a matter of, you know, the home inspection and the bank's appraisal. And
yeah.
getting it done. And I've seen it. So, I mean, I cannot tell. I've joked with so many realtors that sell the houses so quickly. I'm like, give me a 0.5 percentage point. They're like, get out of here. You know, I'm like, look, you sold in the first open house. The only people showed up to the open house because my photographs. So kick me a percentage, you know, a joke on it. And that, you know, it's kind of why I don't have a day job anymore, because of my candidness, hence the name too of the business. But you know, I have fun with it. I joke around. If I go to a house, there's kids, I play with the kids, whatever, you know, it's just make small talk. But you just have to always keep in mind, act as if, prepare, presentation, perception, and camera ready. You know, pretend you're going on the news at 6 o'clock because something happened next door. Are you going to do your hair and makeup? You know, are you going to go out there with no teeth and your cane and then you end up like a meme, right? Do you want to be a meme, or do you want to be something that's on one of those like pricey pads websites that we all can follow on Facebook or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. That's right, man. Begin with the end in mind, right? Yeah, you want to move.
Yep.
Buyer's going to come in. They want to move in. You want to sell it. Pack those boxes. Get rid of the 4 winter coats. You only need 1 if it's winter. And if it's this time of year, you don't need any of them.
Put them away.
And
yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's a seasonal thing, then just like you said in one of your Instagram posts recently, if it's a seasonal item and you're planning to move anyway, you know, you want a 30, 60-day close, whatever the average is nowadays, then just assume you're going to pack anyway. So get rid of it. Put it away. Put the kids' artwork in a manila folder inside of an old textbook. Throw the textbook in a box. Put the box in the garage. And just get ready to move. We don't need to see every single thing, you know, your whole family's ever accumulated. And that's what a lot of people don't, you know, they don't really pay attention to.
Absolutely. So we're talking a lot about, obviously right now we're currently at home, quarantine, right? Pandemic with stay-at-home orders and all of that stuff. We're ready to get back out there.
Oh yeah.
And we touched on a couple of things, you know, with the industry changing because of that. But as a whole, where do you see the industry going in the next few years as far as marketing, presentation? You know, obviously your end of the process, your expertise.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm actually in the process of doing some things with some equipment that will bring me to that future. Some guys and girls out there already have it. I partnered up this year with a videographer. I also have a marketing guru that's been around for probably 35 years that just did and does marketing. So, you know, I have some tools in the toolbox, so to speak, where if someone needs something, I can offer it. I just got a piece of equipment today, a gimbal basically, so that I can run through the house and do video, and it's as smooth as Hollywood. So with Brandon, who you've met before, and some of my other guys that I have, and I think you met my buddy Way, who also shoots with me and does some houses for me. He has his own setup that I bought for him. So, you know, I think the industry is going to go more in the true sense of the word, virtual. I think a lot of managers are throwing out this virtual tour, and then people call me and say, you know, can you put the photos into a slideshow? Well, yeah, that's just a slideshow. It's not a virtual tour. A virtual tour is when you can click and walk through the house, and, you know, on your phone, you can kind of spin the screen and point up and down. And I think a lot of that's going to happen more so than ever. You know, I think on your end, as a professional in the real estate world, the marketing budgets are going to have to go up for you guys, whether you pass that on to the seller or whatever. But, you know, I think the days of like the $100 photo shoot and you can sell the house might be slowing down based on the fact that a lot of people, like, it's my opinion, that doesn't mean anything from anybody, but I don't think open houses are going to last. What's the point of going to a Sunday open house? You know, when the tools are out there to do, you know, click through walking tours, video tours, artistic type shots. Like, I work for a lot of architects and general contractors, and I'm not just doing super wide angle things. You know, I'm doing more little vignettes and zooming in on details, architectural details. I think some of that paired with those other tools, you're going to see, I think, a lot more marketing packages, more so than just, you know, my 125 photo shoot. It's going to be an incorporation of all of the technology that's out there, kind of combined into one. Is it needed on every house? No, of course not. Is it needed on like investment properties that need a ton of work? Of course not. But at the same point, you know, if your listing justifies a certain level of marketing and that price point justifies a certain level of commission, I almost feel like you all, and me included, owe it to that owner to give everything in the toolbox. You know, you want to separate yourselves as professionals. You need to be able to say that my marketing team, not even just my photographer, my marketing team that I have is also, like I am, self-employed and dedicated to success. And we're going to bring everything we have to really put this in front of everybody and anybody. And it's going to be a success. They don't need to know, oh, it's Matterport versus gimbals versus DJI versus this and that. They don't care. Who cares? Nike and Reebok make shoes. No one cares about that. Do the shoes fit, right? So, you know, we got tools in the toolbox, we got professionals, and we're going to make the perception and go with it, right? And I think that's where it's going to go. I don't know if you're going to have these weekends where you're running around seeing, you know, 9 houses in one day anymore. I think it's going to be a lot more computerized. But the whole, you know, just getting a station wagon, kids, there might be an open house sign on the corner. I don't know if that's going to be necessary anymore. You know, I think this disease or whatever's going on, whether you want to call it a pandemic or propaganda, I don't want to get into that. It's not why we're here. And I live with a nurse, so I really can't say much. But I think that it's not going to go away, right? It's not going to magically be like, hey, it's May 1st, no more sickness. So
open house, yeah.
Yeah, open house. So people are going to have that also, you know, perception of, when is it really safe? Do I always need to wear gloves and masks? And, you know me, I take my shoes off every house I get to. It's just an old school thing. Or my mom always, you know, you don't know where you are before I got to your place, take my shoes off. You know, am I going to wear gloves in a house in October? Maybe not. Maybe I won't have to. But am I prepared to? Yeah. I kept them in the car before this happened, because there's been investment properties. You know, there's a guy that told me one time, hey, here's the address. The house isn't even locked. But we still need photos, you know, and he still paid me and I did the photos. And half of me was like, oh God, I hope no one's in there, you know? But I put on the gloves and opened the door. So gloves and masks and hats and get away from me and hugs and kisses. Yeah, that's all probably going to kind of maybe some parts are going to go away and maybe it's more like get in, do the job and get out. You know, be prepared. We're not going to spend, you know, an hour and a half staging a house and rearranging knickknacks and hiding toys. It's like, you own the house, you own the toys, get ready, turn the lights on. My guy's coming. We're doing marketing. And in the morning, you'll see your listing. And let's get it moving. Let's get it sold.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of going to be the mindset, you know, where we might just be more focused on, like you said, the end result and not so much the hashtag, right? It's going to be Instagrammy, but at the same point, it's like, let's hit it hard with all the stuff we got and let's just crush it. Let's get it done. And it makes you better for the next listing appointment. You know, a lot of people have said to me, do you do this because maybe not for this listing, but the next one that I go to, I want to say to that owner that I can do this and walking tours and video tours and artsy photos and not just boom, here's a wide angle, here's an overhead, buy the house. A lot of people can do that. I mean, I could start offering to dig the hole and put the sign in the yard too, but that's not my thing, right? So you got to be able to offer what everyone else is, even if they are offering it too, I guess you got to be able to offer a little bit differently or better, and then just create that likability factor. People, we are also part of the sale. You know, they're buying you and what you offer, right? If they don't like you, that's what I tell my wedding clients. I'm like, look, if you guys don't get in the car and say that guy's the best and he got to hang out with us, then don't hire me. I don't care if I'm free. I want you to love what I did and what we you know.
Right. So we touched on this before, and I thought of it, but I held the question until the end here. Let's talk about buyers, because you work primarily with the sellers, or on the seller side, you know, taking pictures of the property itself so that we can market it to the buyers, but you're not really around for that stage of the process.
No.
Typically.
Yeah, not really.
So what's the one thing that every buyer should know as it relates to photos and searching through listing, like you said, kind of like the online dating thing? What's the one thing that you think every buyer should know when they're starting the process?
That's a good question, and I've said it to some people before. You know, when let's say when the owners are home and I'm there and we do make, you know, small talk, and they say sometimes, and you've probably heard it, and I think we've all heard it, oh, I went to the house and looked nothing like the photos. I try, you know, I might not be the best photo shopper, right? I learned on film, so I pretend the film's in the camera. I take them correctly. I try to give them back as a real representation. And this isn't a dig at anybody, and this happens in all walks of photography, where people will Photoshop the hell out of it to the umpteenth degree, right? Made up word, but and then you get the buyer that's so excited because the photos just look like some Hollywood ending with the picket fences and the perfect skies and everything is just so on target. And then they show up and it's like, wow, this is a laminate floor, and I thought it was, you know, 3/4 inch hand scraped, you know, tongue and groove that had a 30-year guarantee because they HDR'd the hell out of the photograph, high dynamic range. So I think to the buyer, even if a friend were to call me and say, hey, I'm looking to buy houses, look at this listing online, is it a real representation? Pay attention to the common sense items, right? So again, straight lines on the wall. If you see the walls are kind of going like this, then obviously the lens is too wide. It's a distorting lens. So I would just look at the photograph and make sure your walls are straight up and down. You know, your ceiling and everything is all like an aspect. It's all in ratios, right?
Sure.
Then you can look at things that are common, like a refrigerator or a door or even a photo frame. Again, if that looks elongated or super stretched out, or if the refrigerator in the photo looks like it's this fat, right? And it should technically be, you know, 36 inches and all of a sudden looks like it's 50 inches, unless they got a, whatever, Sub-Zero or a Viking or
Sub-Zero, right.
Yeah. So unless you got that, then you know, like, all right, maybe this is a little stretched, right?
It's not that big in real life. Yeah,
it's not that big in real life. So try to find the truth in the images. And if it looks way done, right? Like way overdone. I call it graphic design versus photography. A photograph is a photograph, right? It's a true moment in time that's captured. It's there forever. But you can play on the computer so much so that it starts to look, in my opinion, like a graphic design, like someone that would go and do, you know, a logo or something. So just pay attention to that, you know. And the other thing I would tell, and I'm sure you do as well, and Jeremy and everyone else in your office, drive by, you know, if you like a house, go to the neighborhood, you know, see what's around you. Because as photographers, we are told, and common sense is in us to, you know, we're not going to showcase that power line that's behind the neighbor's house. It's the neighbor's house, but it's still close enough where you might hear it buzz, right? So go to the neighborhood. I remember when I'm born and raised in Lawrenceville, when Lawrenceville was coming up finally and really starting to revamp itself, and I started seeing some houses, and I actually sold one with my ex-wife. But you know, we'd have a nice house here, and 2 or 3 houses down was still abandoned, right? So just go for a quick drive. Pretend it is the 90s or the 80s. Get in a station wagon. Let's go, kids. Just drive by the street. Go at a couple different times of the day. And if you have the, I mean, you're probably not gonna have the luxury to do seasonal visits, but you know, pay attention to the common sense reality of the image, and then just take a look at what it is. And even if you are with the realtor, same thing. Just say, hey, we saw it at 9 a.m. on a Monday. I want to see how the street sounds at 6:30 on a Wednesday. I want to see what dinner time's like on Main Street, because it could be good or bad for you. Maybe maybe you're a grumpy old man and you don't want kids, but all of a sudden everybody around you is a kid. Well, that might not be your house. So, you know, I would say kind of switch up when you look at it, and also just pay attention to the common sense. If the photos look fake and everything's leaning backwards and the couch is this long, then that lens was full of it. You know, the camera was lying to you.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to waste time. It doesn't do anybody any good to bring a buyer through a house, and as soon as you open the door, they go, this isn't the same place. I thought it was, wait, did they Photoshop the carpet? This carpet looks like hell. So, you know, just play along and ask questions, you know, ask questions to your professionals that are helping you. But also just use, you know, kind of common sense.
Good points, man. A lot of good points. Again, I didn't know, I mean, obviously you're the photography expert, but I learned a ton of stuff. So hopefully the general public will pick up on some good tips, and I think they will. And I think that, you know, it can give them the competitive edge when they're getting ready to sell, or even when they're getting ready to buy. I mean, it's a really good point. Some of that is stuff that, you know, working with a buyer's agent, a real estate agent. I mean, they can tell you, the school bus stop is right outside your door. So, you know, you're here at noon on Monday, but every morning, Monday through Friday at, you know, 7:45, there's going to be 25 kids sitting on your porch. Because they're waiting for the bus and they don't want to stand in the rain, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But some of that
could be a benefit, you know, so it depends on your target market. Maybe you got a guy that like my great aunt never drove. She never had her license. So maybe a bus line is perfect for that person. Or maybe, you know, I know you and I did one in Westview, and one of the elementary schools were like a block and a half away. So if you got kids that are about to start school, that could be amazing for that family. So having your buyer kind of ask you some of these questions of like, what's nearby? Where's the closest swing set? Where's the closest swimming pool? Where's the closest giant eagle? You know, I mean, I've been to places, hell, I mean, I've done photo shoots in Ligonier and Seven Springs and way out into Butler and 100 acres here and there. And I'm like, this is beautiful. But like, I want to be able to go to Robinson and just hit 12 different stores in one trip and then grab some days to go and get back home. So, you know, what's important to you needs to be really probably, you know, some of your first questions, and then letting them talk freely and just paying attention, you know, like the buyer could talk as much as they want, but if you're not hearing it and listening and taking notes, then, you know, that's shame on you. But that'll come back to you too. Like, you know, that'll be like an episode of Property Brothers where it's like, she wants this dream house and they show up, it's a shack, and he's like, no, I can fix it. Well, I wanted the dream house, you know? So it's like, if the people say no bus lines and no public this and no fire hydrant out front, and I want a front yard and a backyard, and you're showing up to to row houses with concrete and pat buses, well, then why'd you take them there? You know? So
Yeah.
it's all about, I think, just kind of expressing your wants and needs and listening, and then being proactive with being questions. You know, just don't be afraid to ask questions. Nobody wants to waste time driving around just to show you 10 houses. This isn't show and tell. This is let's go. Let's make something happen, right? You gotta have Christmas in your new house, and I gotta get commission, right? So let's go, do it right.
You make a lot of really good points, man. The way the industry's going, you know, there's a lot of opportunity to see with the Matterport tours, to walk through the houses virtually and to answer probably 90% of the questions before you would even go in. And there's a lot of really great agents who are the local experts that can tell you exactly where the bus stop is and everything's within walking distance. But then you also have a rush of, you know, buyers coming on the market that maybe don't have kids or whatever the case may be, where they're not specific to one school district. And I might have a client that wants to see a house in Westview one in the morning and a house in Monroeville in the afternoon. So, and I might know one neighborhood better than the other.
Yeah.
And they may end up choosing neither of those houses, and we may find them a house in, you know, Cranberry instead. So it's, you know, asking the right questions up front, making sure you're working with a real estate agent who can just set realistic expectations and, you know, help you answer a lot of the questions, get a lot of that out of the way so that you're not wasting your time driving by 100 houses. But when you think you have it narrowed down to a handful, go and do the drive-bys, see where the playground is, see where the, you know, how far the school is.
Yeah.
All of that. That's really good tips, man.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of funny too. Like, I think the more prepared you are, just like anything in life, there used to be a meme that was floating around or something. And I think it was Leonardo DiCaprio from Wolf of Wall Street. And it says something like, you know, you sold my house in one day, almost like they'd be mad, right? Like, I could have done that. And it's like, no, that's exactly what you're paying me for, right? So the more you're all prepared, whether it's a buyer or a seller, the better everybody's going to be. Like, nothing is cooler than when I see you on the third photo shoot of the month and you're like, hey, those last two are already gone. I'm like, of course they are. You're good at what you do. I do a good job, and everybody wins, right? And we educate the people accordingly. But there are instances where, you know, maybe it is a newer person or a timid person or whatever, and they're like, oh, that one still hasn't sold. And I'm thinking, yeah, because you were afraid to tell them to clean. Like, of course, I knew as soon as I walked in, it smelled like cat pee, and the vacuum wasn't run, and the kids' toys were everywhere, and the sink still had dishes in it. But I'm there, so I'm taking the photos. So you got to prepare your people, and then the results will happen. Everybody has dirty dishes, but nobody wants to see them on the internet, right?
Right.
It has to be that common sense. Camera ready. Right now, I'm like flustered. I got bad lighting. I should have known better. I should have had my ring light on me, like the Instagram model girls do.
I got one on.
Yeah, you got one on. You see?
I got one on. Yeah.
No, so it's like, use common sense. Pretend you're going on the news, and all your friends are going to see it. So you want your house to be pretty and perfect, or as perfect as it can be.
Sure.
So what if the like, my room as a kid was San Jose Shark blue, that teal, and then that probably didn't want that, right? So we can paint, or they can paint, but like, just use your common sense. You know, take down things that don't need to be seen. Take down personal photos if you don't want your brand new baby on the internet. That's fine. I've told people that while I'm there. I say, hey, you know, there's a lot of kid photos. You want to take some of them down? So it's all. To us, I guess it's common sense, just like to a painter, it's common sense, or to an accountant, the laws are common sense. But there is some education that I think that has to happen. And I think now more than ever, the times are going to change, like Bob Dylan sang about. And we got to roll with it, man, because it's just, it's either that or find something else to do. And I don't really want to go back to working for anybody else. So
yeah. Yeah, I like what we do, man. I like, let's wrap this up, man. I like working with you. I'm excited that we had a chance to do this. I think there were some really good tips there. You dropped some really good knowledge. So
good.
I appreciate you getting on here and, you know, taking the time to talk about the business, man.
Yeah, no